British national treasure Stephen Fry once said in an interview that when he dies, he would much rather face the 12 Greek gods instead of your boring Christian god, because they didn't pretend not to be human in their appetites, their capriciousness, and their unreasonableness. And to be fair, he makes a good point. Nothing is more interesting than a character with flaws, and God as the Christians see him is looking at flaws in the rearview mirror, whereas Zeus and his Greek buddies jumped out of the car to roll around in a muddy puddle of flaws like the dirty little piggies they are. Greek mythology is the subject of Hades, an isometric hack-and-slash game made by Supergiant Games, who are probably best known for 2011's Bastion, another isometric hack-and-slash game, and 2014's Transistor, which offered a blistering change of pace by also being an isometric hack-and-slash game. I don't know about you, but I think they might have a type. In Hades, you play as Zagreus, or Zag, Prince of the Underworld and the poster boy for daddy issues.
Daddy didn't love me!
Zagreus is sick and tired of working as the son of the titular Hades and attempts to run away to Olympus, where many of his other family members live. You fight your way through 4 different worlds, each with their own styles, enemies and boss fights. But unlike Bastion and Transistor, RuPaul's Zagreus is a roguelike game, where each time you try to escape the underworld, the layout of the world is randomised. The justification for this is that since Hades doesn't want Zagreus to leave the underworld, he is the one responsible for randomising the realms so his son can't map them out and make escape easier over time. And I have to admit, that's probably the best story reasoning for a game to be a roguelike I've ever seen. You also gain different powers and abilities with each escape attempt, but these will be stripped from you if you fail to escape, where you are thrown into the bloody fountain contained within the House of Hades and are encouraged to try again by Hypnos, who is the living embodiment of sleep, although he's not too tired to resist being a facetious little fucker.
Maybe try killing him beforehand, I don't know.
Not all powers are temporary though. There's a mirror named the Mirror of Night in Zag's bedroom, which grants him permanent abilities like restoring half of his health after it's all been depleted, and restoring a small amount of health every time he leaves a chamber during an escape attempt. These small additions to your abilities allow you to make it further through the underworld over time, and does a great job at preventing the gameplay from feeling stale. Hades' gameplay is relatively simple. You have a standard attack, a special attack which normally affects foes in an area around Zagreus, a cast attack which can only be reused after the enemy hit with it has been slain, and a dash to escape danger. These attacks take some getting used to, but trust me, when you do get used to them, you enter a zen-like state and chaining attacks together becomes second nature. It's all just so fluid and satisfying that it becomes intuitive after long enough, and with each of the 6 weapons in the game altering the way Zagreus attacks, everybody's gameplay style is covered by at least one of them. As you progress through the world, you learn that you are being helped on your quest by a large number of gods in Olympus, and even a handful in the underworld. The gods of Olympus all leave little gifts on the floor for Zagreus to collect, and each gift has a symbol indicating who it's from. A few quick examples would be Zeus, Zagreus' uncle and king of the Olympians, represented by a lightning bolt and grants lightning-based abilities to shock foes. There's Poseidon, Zag's other uncle and god of the sea. He is represented by a trident and grants abilities that knock opponents away. Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty and makes Zag's attacks inflict weakness onto enemies. My personal favourite though has to be Hermes, god of swiftness. He boosts the speed of Zag's movements and attacks and talks like he needs to go to the bathroom worse than most Amazon employees.
Hey boss, found you. Good. Hermes, at your service. Pleasure. You are the talk of Olympus. Normally I wouldn't get mixed up, but for you, I'll be making an exception. Now come on, we've both got places to be.
Quickly, run fast, quickly!
While I'm talking about how the characters sound, I have to mention how cool all of the voice acting is in Zag vs the Ragtag Bag of Hags. Charon the Merchant sounds like he would be right at home in any version of hell. Megara, Zag's ex-girlfriend, sounds like she's always fed up with his shenanigans.
The prodigal son returns.
And I certainly don't want this Hades anymore. I want this Hades.
Stupid boy. I told you nobody gets out of here, whether alive or dead.
On top of sounding great, they all look great to boot, with my standouts being Ares, the god of war. No, not that one. Who looks a bit like a reverse Adam from Adam and the Ants, and Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, who constantly looks menacing and lovable all at the same time. And I defy anyone not to love Cerberus because you can bloody pet him, and I didn't know how much I wanted to do that until just now.
Who's gonna miss me?
Each chamber you come across in I didn't just become a bit of a Zag, I became a total Zag, will have an exit door or two that unlocks when enemies in the room are defeated and your reward is collected. There are symbols on each door indicating what reward awaits if the chamber is conquered. Coins will grant currency to spend at shops and merchants. Darkness tokens can be used at Zag's mirror for permanent upgrades. Keys can be used to unlock weapons in the starting area and extra abilities in the mirror, and Nectar can be used to gift to other characters in exchange for items that give Zagreus an additional upgrade or ability, just to name a few. Doors may also contain warnings about the difficulty of the upcoming chambers, shown using a skull and arrows depending on the level of difficulty. Speaking of difficulty, the boss fights in this game do a fantastic job of proving your worth with what you've learned up to that point. It's practically impossible to button mash your way through them because you need to take careful consideration to their attack patterns, what weapon you're using, and how it has been upgraded up to this point. If you don't consider these things, it's likely you won't make it out of the encounter alive. I was initially worried that this kind of difficulty might put off some players, particularly those who aren't used to this kind of combat, but I later discovered that in the options menu there is something called a God mode, which increases the strength of Zag whenever he dies while trying to escape. This greatly reduces the time it would take to complete the game, but it's definitely a worthy consideration if you're struggling. At this point, I think it's fair to explain one very odd nitpick I had with the game though. There's a currency earned during the game called gemstones, which allow for Zagreus to renovate the House of Hades when he returns there after a failed attempt. But why would Zag be interested in renovating a house from which he's trying to escape? I can see that some of the renovations will help during escapes, but most of them are purely cosmetic for the house, so I fail to understand why anyone would want to buy these renovations when they have nothing to offer in gameplay and don't make sense in the context of the story. I honestly don't think I can go any further in this review without mentioning the game's soundtrack. It slaps.
Is that what the kids are saying nowadays?
Honestly, the music in Zaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue adds to the atmosphere in the world while always reminding you of what's at stake. It's mostly heavy instrumental rock, but it's very well constructed, and it only serves to make each play session more engaging. For example, the song playing while you're riding the Barge of Death titled The Bloodless has these slower strumming guitars that build over time, making the tension during that battle all the greater. And the track playing while fighting the first boss, Megara, really amp up the action, especially when she's defeated. It's such a satisfying conclusion to winning such a satisfying battle, and it makes you feel like a god in its own way. All in all, Hades takes the deep and storied history of Greek mythology and ties it in very well, mostly, with compelling gameplay, stunning visuals, and mesmerising music. In fact, it compelled me so much that I couldn't help but continue to learn about the Greek gods and their beautifully messed up family long after I had finished playing. Only for this video though, believe me. I will continue to play this because I haven't gotten to the final boss, and Zagreus deserves to be set free. Hades, more like, Hades' game is really good. Hey everyone, and thank you so much for watching my review of Hades. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the game and what other games you'd like me to review in the future by leaving a comment below. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more of my content, and click the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I upload to YouTube. Catch you all in the next video. Goodbye.